I love the Arba'a Banim, the part of the Haggadah where we read about the four sons. Echad Hacham, the wise son, Ve'echad Rasha, the wicked son, Echad Tam, the simple son, Ve'echad She'no Yodea Lishol, the son who doesn't know how to ask. There are many reasons why I love this section, but I was always drawn to it even as a kid because of the illustrations. There are so many different artistic representations of each of the four sons, and each of them is really a commentary in itself. Every artist visualizes them in different ways, offering new meaning and insights to understanding the words we read, from looking at them as modern archetypes or as four daughters, as representations of different styles of learning or personalities, or as representations of the different stages of life. One of my favorite, perhaps, is an interpretation that recognizes that in each of us is a blend of all four. But I love the idea that there are so many different illustrations of the four sons, because there exists a seemingly limitless number of different lessons and meanings we can find within this short but well-known section of the Seder. This year I want to share with you one I've only recently come across, but it speaks to me in light of the world we find ourselves living in today. But first, some background. The response to the wicked son is notably harsh, since he sets himself apart from the community and denies the core beliefs of Judaism. The Haggadah tells us, Ve'afata hakei et shinav. Traditionally, this is translated as, you therefore blunt his teeth, and tell him that had he lived in the generation that was enslaved in Egypt, he would not have been redeemed. Many commentators struggle with the harshness of this response, but most deem it as necessary. Here it is someone whose beliefs do not align with the core values of our tradition. For the sake of ensuring that others are not infected with this way of thinking, he must be separated from them. His ideas are a threat to the very existence of the Jewish faith. In our world today, we see this line of thinking used a lot. Someone who expresses ideas we deem as dangerous, we deem as wicked, is cut off. They deserve to be punished, to be excluded so their way of thinking will not spread. Once it is clear that someone does not share our values, we are quick today to end the conversation, to cease communication and discussion, and we justify that it's for the safety of the values we cherish. Like many of the traditional commentaries, we believe that conversation will not lead to a change of heart. This person must be excised like diseased tissue. There is no cure for them, so we must instead focus on ensuring the safety of others. Rabbi Moses Schreiber, or the Khatam Sofer as he came to be known, after his primary publication offers another understanding. He focuses not on the punishment, but on the beginning of the instruction to the father, af atah. Rather than as you therefore, he reads it as you also. It's not an instruction to the father for how to punish his son, but a reminder that the father shares in the son's culpability. He too is guilty. Perhaps, as many commentators believe, the son is too far gone to correct his thinking. But the Khatam Sofer asks, how did the father ever let it get this far? It is a reminder to all of us as we read this section to not only look outward as we criticize others, but to look at ourselves, to honestly ask, what role may we have played in creating this problem? Could we have done things differently? Could we have prevented this outcome? We want to imagine in our personal conflicts that we are 100% correct and the other person is 100% at fault. But the truth is, there is almost always something we could have done differently along the way. Something we could have done to prevent a conflict from escalating or even arising in the first place. This is true not only on the personal level, but on the global. As a society, there are things we could have done differently, ways we could have intervened earlier to prevent problems we now face. It might be true that there are people who are beyond the point that dialogue or conversation will make a difference. And it might be true that for the sake of preserving the values we hold dear, there are people who have to be separated, whose ideas have to be prevented from spreading. Yet as the Khatam Sofer points out, this section of the Haggadah calls on us to not take joy in doing so, to not celebrate that it has come to this, but to instead ask ourselves, what part have we played in this? What blame do we share? How could we have acted differently so that next time there's a better outcome? It gives us something important to think about at our Seder. Chag Sameach. May you have a meaningful Seder and a joyous holiday.